Hello, African sports fanatics. Welcome to another episode of the Safari Soccer Show. I'm your host, Yvonne Etta. Now, my guest today, we are doing it a bit different. I have hosted coaches and players, football, those who are involved in football in the field. But then today, I'm doing it in a different way. I'm hosting the founder of Football Foundation for Africa. Sorry, may just introduce yourself, Brian, and just tell us, give us a brief history of your football journey, how you came in the football world, and maybe if you have played soccer before.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you for hosting me on this show. It's a pleasure for me to be here. So my name is Brian Wesaala. I'm the founder of Football Foundation for Africa. And yes, I have played football for as long as I can remember, and I still consider myself a footballer. So I've been playing mostly in Kenya. I think at the height of my career, if I can put it that way, I was representing Strathmore University Football Club and a nationwide league. That's what it was called then. Now it's called the NSL, the National Super League. And I was studying as well at Strathmore University, so a bit of my educational background. I'm IT trained at computer science, and also I'm a trained accountant. In 2009, I also had the opportunity to move abroad for work purposes, where I worked with the World Scout Bureau, which is the Secretariat for the Scouting Movement, for about 2 years, and then worked for the UN. We're talking about 7 or 8 years in the IT field. But my passion has always been football. So around 2015, 2016, I started to think more critically about my career and what I wanted to do with life. And I decided to kind of make a change and pursue my passion, which is football. So I started initially just by writing about my ideas around the development of the game. So I had a personal blog then, that is brianwesaala.com. And I was also organizing a tournament here in Nairobi whenever I was visiting, that is the Obama Cup at Strathmore University. And from these two ventures, my blog and the tournament, I felt I could do more in the football space. And that's what incited me or inspired me to set up the Football Foundation for Africa. And the main objective being to see how we can better resource the grassroots football across the continent. Because I realized that's the foundation, hence the name, the Football Foundation for Africa. So in 2017, 2018, I set up the Football Foundation for Africa. We're doing 3 years now. And I left my job, or rather my contract with the UN ended then. So I started to focus entirely on football. To support my transition, I did a professional master in football business, the Football Business Academy. So just to help me to understand the industry better and also to enhance my network. I thought it was important for me to pursue something specialized in sports management, football management in this case. So that's where we are now. We are now doing 3 years, just over 3 years of the Football Foundation for Africa. Of course, the last 1.5 years have not been easy, and we were forced, more or less, the pandemic has forced us to change tact or change strategy. And now my main activity is an online program like yourself. I'm doing the Africa Football Business show. And at the same time, also setting up the Africa Football for Development network. So those are my two main activities at the moment in the football space. Thank you.
Great. I have to tell you that I look up to you in so many aspects in this soccer industry. But even before we go deep into football, Wesaala sounds Ugandan. Do you have any relationship? Let me ask, maybe Ugandan descent.
No. I'm of African descent, so Wesaala is an African name.
Okay.
And I also consider myself rather late. I consider myself Pan-African. So I'm very passionate about the continent, especially it's the young people on the continent. That's the people I work for, using football as a platform. But regarding my name, it's African. It's Kenyan. Let me be. It's no relations to Uganda, but we never know. It's one continent. Yeah.
So I think also my surname, people confuse it so much. They don't think if it's a Kenyan name as well.
Yeah.
But moving on, you have told me you have a background in computer science, but then you have also said you were passionate about soccer. So at what point did you decide to venture in football economics and management? Because this is a sector where not so many people venture into it. Yeah.
So as I mentioned in my intro, around it was 2015 January. I think my venturing into football as a business or entrepreneurship in football sports was inspired by a personal team tragedy.
Yeah.
We lost a very good friend of ours. His name was Alan Onyango, Obama. He died tragically in Dar es Salaam. I don't want to get into the details of that. But out of this strategy is when I started organizing the tournament I just told you about, Obama Cup.
Yeah.
So in 2016, we had the first edition. And it was just a way of bringing my friends, former teammates, Strathmore University, to come together to enjoy football and kind of try to enhance our networking or to support each other in any way.
Yeah.
So that's I said doing Obama Cup, and then after doing this first tournament in 2016, I just made an observation that not all of the players or other the people we played with had progressed in terms of their career in football or otherwise. And from this observation, I decided to theme the tournament tackling unemployment through sport. And that's why the following year in 2017, I tried to find sponsors, also tried to find partners, and I was really encouraging them not just to sponsor the tournament, kind of an arm's length, but also to come closer to the football, to the football community, because we realized in Africa, in Kenya, there's some kind of barrier between the corporate sector and sport, especially football.
Yeah.
So I was trying to see how do I beat this gap? How do I connect amateur footballers to opportunities outside of football? And yeah, this is what it was a success for me, especially the second edition, because at the same time I did crowdfunding to finance the tournament. So through my blog, I ran a crowdfunding campaign, and it was successful. And at this point is when I thought, yeah, I think I can do a lot more with this. I can do a lot more with my passion and also my knowledge of football, because at the same time I started to invest myself in understanding the game of football, not on the pitch, but outside. Because I felt there's football, as everybody says, is big business. It has a big following across the world.
Yeah.
So I started to research a lot around how football, the politics of football, the economics of football, the social cultural nuances of the game, and my thinking was Africa has not tapped the potential that football can have in transforming the continent or in transforming its people. So that's when I decided I'm going to leave my career in IT and venture into the football space. But as you know, technology follows us everywhere. So even my IT helps me to think logically about solutions that I'm trying to come up with within the football space. Because again, we realize African football in Africa and even globally is a very passion-oriented space. It's always about winning, about the euphoria around the game, but to start thinking critically about football and what it means, estimating or measuring what it can achieve, what we can achieve with the game. Not many people have invested in that, especially in Africa. So at this point, I said I'm going to invest myself in football and see how I can contribute to the development of the continent through the game. Yeah.
So talking of you seeing what you can contribute to the development of the game, you came up with Football Foundation for Africa. So what plans do you have that you want to achieve with the Football Foundation for Africa, the short and the long runs?
For the Football Foundation for Africa, the short term is to try and get more people to start thinking critically about sports on the continent, to influence especially young people to see the opportunities that are there, and not just in playing the game, but in managing the game. How can we start a movement of people who are interested in developing the game? Because there's a lot to be done on the continent. There's a lot to be done if you look at our infrastructure and things like that. If you look at the education side, there's a lot to be done, and we need people in the football space. We need people in the sports space who can actually invest themselves in understanding the industry. So for me, in the short term, is kind of playing an influencer role and inspiring the next generation of leaders in football or leaders in sport across the continent. And it's already happening, and I think it's one of my my greatest successes, or what I consider success, when I get people reaching out to me and asking me about my career and what my plans are regarding to football. So these are mostly young people who want to get into the space, but they don't know how, or they are in the space and they're trying to learn more. And like I said, I'm also running the Africa Football Business show, which has been doing for over a year now, and it's really gotten good traction as one of the programs that the continent enjoys from a football perspective. There, I discuss things such as the history of the game, governance of the game, the business aspects of the game, and really, it's become a great asset for the Africa Football Foundation for Africa. In the long-term goals of the Football Foundation for Africa, my vision really is to set up a truly African organization that can gain global recognition. Because again, not many, we don't have many sports organizations on the continent that are growing from Africa and sustained from Africa in terms of financing. Because especially football is very Eurocentric. Everything originates from FIFA, a rather top-down approach. But if we look at organizations on the continent that have been set up and grow to become globally recognized, there are few. So this is something I hope to achieve. And my how do I put it? My goal is to work, especially at the grassroots level, where I believe there is a lot of a need to transform grassroots football communities into economical and socially sustainable entities. So how do I support football academies, football clubs at the grassroots level, which usually don't have like access to corporates or to financing? No, football is mostly financed by the corporate sector or by government. So that's what I want to achieve in the long term, to build a very vibrant grassroots football movement on the continent. Because if we look at the industry, more than 95% is grassroots, it's amateur. That's where the most players are. So how do we tap into this potential to create something economically viable? And that's why I set up the Africa, one of my flagship initiatives, the Africa Football for Development Network, where I'm trying to create a platform for these grassroots football organizations to exchange knowledge or to source for financing, to support the work they are doing, and really trying to take advantage of the economies of scale to better resource grassroots football in Africa.
Your mission as the Football Foundation of Africa is on football economics and management. Now back to our African clubs. How should our African clubs generate revenues sustainable without relying on maybe the shirt sponsorship alone or any other sponsorship?
I think for clubs outside of a few good cases, mostly in South Africa and North Africa, a lot of clubs, especially here in Kenya, are struggling to raise funds or to finance whatever they're doing. And as some of my colleagues who have interacted within the football space, they say running a football club in Africa is a very expensive endeavor. And for me, that's why I also tend to focus a lot on the grassroots, the small communities, and see how do we make these things, how do we help these grassroots football communities to better structure themselves? Because at the end of the day, it's how we structure ourselves, how we present ourselves that will attract the right funding. And these translate also to the bigger clubs. Traditionally, clubs usually rely on sponsorship, media rights, the sale of media rights to TV and broadcasting, and then there is ticket sales. That's match day revenue, and the fourth one is they usually fall. It escapes my mind, but it's very challenging, especially in Africa, where people don't have disposable income, so they don't even attending matches or becomes challenging. And now even with something like the situation we're having now with COVID, you cannot rely on funds coming to the media. And it is because of these funds that sponsors are interested in the game, because at the end of the day, they're looking to build their brands, looking to build their client base. The same funds is what attracts, for example, broadcasting people. But now with these challenges, I think we have to be more innovative as clubs to see really how can we attract funding. We have to be more entrepreneurial in our thinking. For example, how can we, as a club, as an organization, venture into other business opportunity while leveraging on the following of the game, leveraging on the passion of the game, because football, everybody is watching football, everybody is interested in football. But how do we use that to build other businesses? We have football clubs here in Kenya, for example, at the grassroots level, now venturing into agriculture, and things like that. So honest, I have to be honest and say it's about trying different things. And even me as the Football Foundation for Africa, myself as Brian Wesaala, I'm still trying to learn and try different things to understand how the industry is moving. Now there's a lot of talk around the digital space, a lot of talk around the digital space and digital transformation. How do we leverage these to really drive the business of football on the continent? How are clubs using, it's not just about gaining so many followers on Facebook or Twitter, on Instagram, and things like this. But really, how do you connect this to your business, to your business models? How do we change? You already know a lot of the clubs you'll see here, maybe they are depending on sale of players and things like that. But how often does this happen? And we cannot continue with the same mindset. We need to invest in knowledge. We need to invest in research as clubs to identify different opportunities that can be able to drive our revenue. Sometimes you hear a lot the lack of government support, for example, for football clubs or football ecosystem. But at the same time, we need to think as football clubs or as the football community. What are we selling to our government? Because even the government, for them to give you money, they have to see value. So what's the agenda of the government of the day, and can we use football to help in that agenda? This is what will guarantee us support from government. It's not just about going to the next tournament or the AFCON or the World Cup. Really, does it make economic sense for us to go to the AFCON and spend maybe 300, 400 million for a tournament where the most you can earn is 200 million? It doesn't make sense. So really, we have to start thinking more innovatively about what we are doing with football in order to attract the right funding. Right now, there's a lot. The world is orientating itself towards impact investment. Everybody wants to have a social, economic impact. There's also the issues of environmental sustainability. That's where the world is moving. So, are we as a football community, as football clubs, or as federations, leagues, trying to see how we can tap into these spaces? So there's no, as I said, there's no silver bullet when it comes to how to resource clubs. It's about thinking outside of the box and seeing where it is that we can add value. So for us to be able to monetize that value.
So in your opinion, what do you think else the African football, and why can't we reach the greater heights as the South American sides?
I have to say again that it's about setting an agenda as well for African football. As I mentioned at the onset, football is very, very Eurocentric. A lot of what is happening in the football space now is becoming oriented towards Europe. Even the style of play, that's where the best opportunities are. But can we create an agenda for football in Africa, for example? Do we have an agenda for football in Africa? What are the pressing needs in Africa? And how can we in the football space address these needs? So there is need, like you mentioned, South America. For them, their success lies a lot in how they have managed to maintain a very South American feel to the game. You can tell this is football in South America, and it's very different from the football we have in Europe. But when it comes to Africa, we are trying to copy a lot of what is happening in Europe without thinking critically about what are our own assets and how can we package our football to market it to the global community. For example, football here is the grassroots football. You can create a culture within that. Maybe even try and see if we can mix it with our music, for example. We have to create a unique product. And Africa again is very, very diverse. Africa is very huge. So we need to think of how regionalization of our endeavors, so that we work as regions and not necessarily as a whole continent, though at the end of the day, it all builds up to what we're offering as a continent. So for football in Africa to succeed, we have to give it an African feel.
Yeah.
Yes, the industry is very much oriented towards Europe, but there's still opportunity to create an African football, which is what we are lacking. That's why I say we need more people who are within the continent and who understand sports management business and who can be able to link these with what's happening on the continent, our culture, our social setup. How do we market these? How do we link these to sports? Be able to create a unique product that we can sell to ourselves, because we have to consume what we produce first.
Yeah.
And then we see how do we market this now to the global community.
Talking about music, I think youth empowerment through music, arts, and sports is one thing that the government has not invested in. How can we utilize sports, arts, and music sustainably to be main employers for the youth?
Yeah, I think when we look across the continent, there's a lot happening in the sports and arts space, including music.
Yeah.
Now we see a country like Nigeria that is really doing well when it comes to the music scene.
Yeah.
And this was not the case 20 years ago. They've managed to take their music to the global level. And the thing that you realize is that they have created a style of music that is very much connected to their culture and history. Looking at their musicians from history and trying to modernize that style. And out of this, they have been able to grow a music industry. Same as film. 20 years ago, we were laughing at Nigerian movies. I mean, it was not one of those things you'd want to be associated with. Nigerian movie.
Yeah.
But look at where they are now in terms of the movie industry. Nollywood is now a multi-million dollar industry, creating opportunities. So there are these good examples here and there that we can borrow to see how do we transform, how do we grow our industries to be employers. And that's why I say we need to set an agenda for football. We need to set an agenda for sports, and it cannot just be about going to the World Cup or going to the Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
We now need different KPIs around football. How many people are employing in football? And it's not just the players. Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. And then we see, how do we grow this? If at this moment we are saying, okay, 1 million people are gainfully employed in football. In 5 years' time, we want that to grow to 5 million people gainfully employed in football. And that should not in any way be linked to qualifying for the next World Cup. Every other national association president who comes in says, I want my country to qualify for the next World Cup. Very few of them are thinking, No. The football industry now, or the football industry in my country is now watched so many millions.
Yeah.
And I want to grow this football industry to so many millions. If you try and Google search on data around the size of the Africa football industry, it's very, very difficult to get any information. Yeah. So that's where we should be investing ourselves. Those are the kind of jobs we need to be creating. We need economists in sports. We need researchers in sports. It's not just about producing players. As one of my contacts I met recently, I saw a video. He said, when we went to the Olympics, we count the medals, while those organizations count billions. Like the IOC, how much they make from the Olympics. So Africa needs to start thinking about these things. It's not just about how many medals you're winning, how many times you're qualifying for global events, but how much money, how many opportunities are we creating in this industry. So it's just about thinking around different KPIs and seeing how we're going to achieve. Yeah.
Now, before a few minutes ago, you told me that football is a socio-economic venture that empowers the community. Now, let me ask, what social factors hinder or promote your activities as you launch your projects?
Yeah, football, really, sports is a socio-economic venture. And that's why I say for the Football Foundation for Africa, it's a social enterprise. And I think sports lends itself very well to the social enterprise business model, because it attracts people, it impacts people directly. It's not just about the people who are playing, but also those who are watching. If you look across the country, across the continent again, so many young people are playing football. Even during this pandemic, grassroots football tournaments have continued to thrive, for example, because people are interested. Young people are interested in playing. They find some kind of relief and entertainment being in the football space. They're passionate about football. But now we need to start thinking. So many of the young people are engaged in football. How can we use that to transform or rather to influence their thinking? And I talked about African needs, for example. One of the things that I have done is they are tackling unemployment through sports. So how can you do that within the football space? Don't just organize a football tournament. At the end of the day, what message do you want to communicate through that tournament? What positive message about the country, about the continent do we want to transmit in that platform? Football is a platform. How do we use that platform to raise awareness around different issues across the country? For example, we see things like corruption, which we talk about a lot. So is there a way we can use football as a platform maybe to start influencing the thinking of our young people against corruption? How do we promote our values within football? So before COVID came, I had designed I designed a series of tournaments around various themes, themed tournaments, and most of them were to do with things that I failed to observe the country needs. So there was something like a Unity Cup, which we do. I hopefully will be able to do it at the end of this year in Kariobangi, and it's about building communities. So that kind of platform, how do we use to influence our young people positively? How do we fashion our footballers to be ambassadors of good values within their communities? These are the kind of things that will attract funding, will attract finance, because at the end of the day, it has to be about the opportunities that we are creating in the industry that will transform our communities socially. So that's how I see football as a platform where we can really influence young people. We can really influence our communities with positive messages, to be able to transform the way we think, the way we live, and hopefully make a change. We can't change the world, but we always told to be able to change your circle of influence. So if with a tournament you can bring together 1,000 people and have a good message, a positive message, then that's your circle of influence which you can use, and this can be scaled, or it can be multiplied, especially with football. Football is a great multiplier and a great convener of people. So how do you use that to influence our communities positively?
Let's talk about your last show as we wind up. You are talking about football ecosystem. Maybe just a brief us. What is football ecosystem, and what is its relationship and responsibilities?
Well, the current, thank you actually for bringing this out. So encourage people to watch the season premiere, season 4 of the Africa Football Business show, where we're talking about strengthening Africa's football ecosystem. I see that's also influenced a lot by my training in IT. It's a systems thinking approach. Traditionally, football has been run. It's a very closed space. Everything we do, usually it's just within football, and this is how the game was constructed globally. FIFA and its national associations. But when you start to think about football and how it impacts the community, how it impacts the society, you start to see the ecosystem of football. So it's not just the football, there are other aspects. We're talking about trying to get sponsorship from the corporate sector. But is the corporate sector, for example, gaining from more people participating in football? Because now things change. Previously, maybe sponsors were just looking for visibility, which they could get through football. But now corporates are looking to impact the society positively. So can they use football as their platform? So you see that builds on the whole ecosystem. When we start thinking of football, what other industries are affected, right? At the moment, for something like manufacturing, we rarely talk about manufacturing when you think about football, because in Africa, mostly a lot of what we use, you see things like jerseys and things like that, we import. But there is an opportunity here for entrepreneurs maybe to start manufacturing their jerseys locally. Some companies are doing football. So you see, that's another space altogether that we need to think about. When you think about something like sports medicine, that's another system altogether. And when we look at systems and how they interact, any changes in one system impact changes in the other system. Now with the pandemic, companies their budgets have been squeezed. So one of the immediate actions would be to reduce funding, for example, for sports in terms of sponsorship. So you see, a change in one industry affects another. So we need to think about solutions in a more systemic matter. That's why I talk about strengthening Africa's football ecosystem. So for this season, we have a number of topics, that will address various parts of the Africa's football ecosystem, and see really how they interact, how they move, and see where we can create more value in the football industry.
I think there's an award that the Football Foundation of Africa has won before.
Yeah, I think that was in 2019.
Yeah.
That was the Football Heroes Award for social responsibility.
Yeah.
And I had the privilege of traveling to Moscow, Russia, where I was presented with this award by football legend Francesco Totti. So that was a very proud moment for me personally, and a great milestone for the Football Foundation for Africa. And interesting enough, this award was as a result of a tournament that I did in Botswana in 2018 when I launched the Football Foundation for Africa in Botswana. And it's the same thing, playing with a purpose. So the tournament, again, just like the one here in Nairobi, it was themed tackling unemployment through sport, but it was called FFA Cup because of how we relate. It was the launch of the Football Foundation for Africa. So I wanted to give it an African feel, or an African context, because my plan was to do this tournament in different cities, villages, towns across the continent. So yeah, FFA Cup was awarded. FFA was awarded this award. Was awarded in 2019, the Football Heroes Award for social responsibility. And it was a very exciting moment for us, and we look forward to future successes.
Great. Also, my last question as we finish the show: how has football changed your community and personal life? The experience you have had this far, and maybe people you have met and the exposure.
Maybe personally, again, I'll say football has always been my passion. So it has influenced my life a lot. For me, football was always my go-to space. You know, when I was excited about anything, or when maybe I was low, football provided me that kind of a space where I could express myself and enjoy. And up to now, I mean, even yesterday morning we had a match. I mean, that's what I do to keep myself fit, to provide myself with relief, because again, life is not easy, especially setting up an organization. The challenges that come. So football is that space where it provided me an outlet, and being able to pursue my passion now as work is also something that I find very fulfilling. Again, it's not easy. You know, people say when you do the job you love, you don't have to work a day in your life. But I think I have a very different mind towards that, because I still find it very challenging to set up an organization, but it's very fulfilling for me. And yes, I've been able to work with different people, and it gives me a joy to see people have an interest in what I do, or starting to think differently around football. You know, that's my circle of influence here. So at the moment, for example, I have one staff, or somebody I mentor in the football space, who helps me in running the organization. And these kind of things are very fulfilling. And now, even globally, since I ventured into this football space, I have to say a lot of opportunities have opened up for me. My network has grown tremendously in the football industry, and it's amazing just how solutions or help are very close to us. Usually, it's just a matter of reaching out to a network and asking them for advice, and people are more than willing to share their expertise, to share their experiences in helping us do what we want. So yeah, that's how football has has helped me and also helped me to transform my community. For me, my community is the football community. So if I can be able to have a positive influence in the football community, then I will have considered my work success. Success is also always measured at the end. But the more impact or the more influence I can have on the football community, especially in Africa, if I can drive right opportunities in Africa, then I will consider my work done. So yeah, that's me. I don't know, a bit scattered here and there, but I hope you get.
Yeah, I do. Thank you very much for coming to my show, Brian. I think I have learned a lot. I'm still learning a lot from you, and also I'll keep watching your shows because it's something different from what I am doing. So I'll keep learning from you.
Brilliant, Yvonne, and it's a pleasure. I also make a point. I've watched a couple of your shows, and I'll say also a great job you're doing. We need more people who are doing these kind of things, because also Africa needs to start creating its own stories, its own success stories within the football space. So all the best with the Soccer Africa Safari Soccer Show.
Yeah.
And thank you again for inviting me to. As a guest. Really enjoyed also discussing with you. And looking forward to future shows.
Thank you. And to our viewers, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Safari Soccer Show. Follow us on all our social media handles at Safari Soccer Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I think your page is Football for Africa Foundation as well.
Yeah, the Football Foundation for Africa. You can follow us on Twitter, it's the FFA Africa.
Yeah.
You're on Facebook, on YouTube, you're FFA Media.
Yeah.
So for people to watch the show that you're talking about, the Africa Football Business Show, you can subscribe to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.